For an in-depth perspective on the situation in the Middle East, we welcome our panel with Joan Leslie McGill and Bart Marcois. Joan is Chief of Staff at the U.S.-Israel Education Association, and Bart is a former career diplomat and Energy Department official. Thank you both for joining us. Joan, let's start with you. Can we expect a reportedly planned meeting between Iranian and European leaders in Geneva to prove fruitful in resolving the conflict?
Well, I think that coming out of this meeting, we are going to see what we have been seeing for years, which is that the Europeans want to put forth some kind of deal with Iran that will allow them to continue enriching uranium. And that has been a hard line for President Trump. That's been a hard line for the Israeli government, that they cannot have a deal where Iran continues to enrich uranium. So I think that whatever the Europeans come out with is going to allow that to continue happening. Therefore, I don't think that we really have a deal on the table.
Understood, Joan. And Bart, there's another aspect to all this. There's a $400 billion deal between China and Iran, exchanging Chinese investment for Iranian oil. Please explain what's at stake for China as tensions between Iran and Israel remain high.
Well, China has a failing economy right now, and part of what's propping it up is cheap Iranian oil that they buy because when we sanction Iranian oil, doesn't mean they can't sell it. It just means they can't sell it on world markets. The Chinese buy it happily, but they buy it at a much reduced price. If they have to start paying world market prices for oil, that will be a further blow to their already frail economy.
Yes, Bart. And now China has some global ambitions. Can you expand on how that could derail some of those?
Well, the Chinese network of ports and infrastructure projects and all of the predatory lending that they've done around the world is dependent on a great deal of cash. They're sitting on a lot of money because of the massive trade deficit that they've run with the United States and investment deficit they've run with the United States and the rest of the world. If they don't have cash flow, if they don't have this perception of continuing accelerating power, then all of the small countries that have been bending to the will of the Chinese Communist Party they sense they sniff the air and they sense a change in the wind, and they say, maybe we don't have to make a deal with China. And it starts slowly, but it grows from there, and people will start turning away from China.
Thanks for explaining that, Bart. And Joan, Iran's Fordow uranium enrichment facility may be out of reach from all but U.S.-made so-called Bunkerbuster bombs. Can those likely penetrate this site that analysts say might be used to expedite Iran's making of a nuclear bomb?
Yes, so the Bunkerbuster bombs definitely can penetrate the Fordow site, and they definitely are the easiest way to shut down that center. Now, I believe that Israel, when they began this offensive war, they have tactical plans to eliminate Fordow on their own. I think they're hoping for U.S. involvement and access to the U.S. Bunkerbuster bombs, but I do think that Israel has plans where they can attack that facility on their own, likely with a ground invasion, which will be longer, it will be messier. But yes, U.S. capability is in the Bunkerbuster bomb, and it is the easiest way to take down Fordow.
Understood. And Bart, how likely is the event of a regime change right now in Tehran? And if so, how would China respond?
Gee, I don't know. That's a 50-50 question. I see the Israelis attacked overnight the headquarters of the Basij and some of the other internal control special police units in Iran. That certainly weakens their grip on power. If there is a change in regime, the question is what kind of regime will take its place? Will it be an Iranian or an Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps regime that takes over and rules with an iron fist? If so, then China still has a purchase there. If it's something less than that, I think the Iranian people will be open to investment from other countries, and they will not close the door, but China will certainly not have a privileged position there. May I say something about the Bunkerbuster bombs that I've learned recently? A retired B-52 pilot and navigator for another bomber told me this morning that we don't actually need the B-2 bomber to deploy the Bunkerbuster bombs. We just need something that's big enough to carry them, such as the C-130 or three other planes that have the capability of carrying that weight. We always deferred to the B-2 because we assume a hostile environment, a hostile air defense environment. But the nation of Israel has completely destroyed, or nearly completely destroyed, Iranian air defenses. And so it is possible that this is theoretically possible that part of what's happening during this 2-week stay of execution is that they are testing deploying the Bunkerbuster from a C-130, because now you could do it at a much lower altitude, 25,000 feet instead of 55,000 feet. And so it opens up possibilities that we could sell Bunkerbusters to Israel, and Israeli planes could then deploy them. Very interesting twist on the GBU-57 saga.
Definitely. Thank you for sharing that with us, Bart. And Joan, can this conflict lead to a shift in the power balance in the Middle East among Iran's proxies, Hezbollah, and so forth?
I certainly think so. I think we've seen that shift happen and take place over the past 12 months as it is. But I do believe moving forward, we were talking about the prospects of regime change. If you see the regime fall and we move towards either a democratic government inside of Iran or perhaps reinstalling the Shah with some sort of constitutional monarchy, I think we are looking at a more open and peaceful Middle East in front of us, one that Israel is at the table with. We talk about the Abraham Accords a lot. I think you will see more countries come into the Abraham Accords nations with the fall of the Ayatollah and the regime in Iran. And I think there's even the prospects for peace between Iran and Israel. So I think there is a lot at stake for the future of the Middle East should we move past this current conflict, and especially if there is the fall of the regime, which I think is highly likely at this point given the circumstances.
Thanks for that, Joan. And Bart, is Israel taking actions that necessarily incline the U.S. to act, or is it acting in a way that doesn't necessarily do so?
You know, the entire world owes a debt of gratitude to Israel for doing the hard things that no other nation on earth is willing to do. They are ready to do this completely on their own if we will simply sell them the weapons that they need to accomplish it. They are prepared to do it on their own. Benjamin Netanyahu is a very careful statesman. I know he's a controversial figure inside Israel, but I think he would be, if Americans could vote for the president of Israel, I think most Americans would vote for him. He is careful not to assume that President Trump will intervene. He knows that if he does that, and President Trump feels like he's being manipulated in any way, he will push back on that. President Netanyahu is making it clear, we're willing to do this on our own.
Understood. And Bart, does Ayatollah Khamenei have a decision to make? I mean, first of all, the Israeli defense minister said that he cannot continue to exist, so a threat on his life. And also, he's faced with this decision of whether or not he should escalate the conflict or just back down from nuclear enrichment.
He's alive because President Trump has dictated that he stay alive. The Israelis were ready to exterminate him a week ago, and President Trump said, no, don't do it. He needs somebody to negotiate with. And I don't see President Khamenei capitulating. I don't see him, this is a guy who's been saying Marcois America for 50 years now. He's not going to stop. President Trump has made it clear unconditional surrender is what will preserve the regime, and the regime will not do that.
Understood, Bart. And Joan, has public opinion in Iran changed since the start of this conflict?
Well, I don't know if it's changed. I think the public opinion within Iran has always been against the regime, against the Ayatollah. They've long been living under that oppression. And so what I think now we're seeing is the people in Iran being emboldened towards regime change. And for the first time in over 40 years, they're seeing a real possibility and hope for that. And so I think that we're going to continue to watch this play out over the next few weeks. This is why I think that regime change, although that's not why Israel set out to wage this war, I think it's inevitable at this point. And we were just talking about, will the Ayatollah give up their nuclear program? Those two have always been synonymous. The regime was always synonymous with having and achieving nuclear capability. And so I'm not sure you can take away one without the other.
Understood, Joan. Thank you for that. And Bart, has the Chinese regime used Iran as a tool for containing the West, and does this conflict disrupt that?
Oh, absolutely. Yes and yes.
Understood. And why is that?
Well, they use them because they use Iranian money to help finance all of these protests in Western countries, in the United States and in Western Europe. They funnel money through Qatar and other sympathetic countries that will hire protesters to go and cause chaos and disruption. They've funneled money to proxies all around Israel, and they've been funneling money to cyber attackers and to saboteurs, sleeper agents who are ready to move inside the United States and Europe, and probably in Korea and Japan as well, ready to attack us and disrupt our economic life and disrupt our political life if we attack them. We have to know that if we attack Iran, we'll have cyber attacks on infrastructure, we'll have power failures, dam, water control failures, arson, wildfires, and attacks on railways and other transportation methods. That will be the price we pay for intervention.
Thanks for shining a spotlight on that, Bart. And Joan, what is French President Macron's technical offer to Iran, and can that have any meaningful impact?
I have not seen that offer yet, but what I know, and I go back to what I said at the very beginning of this, which is that Europe has always tried to put forth a policy of appeasement. They think that if we can get Iran to stop enriching uranium at a weapons grade level, then perhaps we've achieved some sort of peace. But I think that we've seen that fail over and over again. And that's why Israel was forced to take things into their own hands. So when I look at what the French President Macron is putting forward, obviously meeting with the other European leaders today, I don't think it is a real legitimate peace deal. I think it is more of what we've seen over the past decade. And I think that the U.S. understands where Israel is on this, and the two are in lockstep right now, that we can no longer promote this path of appeasement. We've got to finally put an end to the enrichment. There cannot even be a slight level of enrichment in Iran because they are not good faith actors in this.
Well, Joan Leslie McGill and Bart Marcois, we appreciate your contributions.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us on.